You have
There,
probably
10
seen the
o'clock.
video.
Got it.
It pops
Zooming in.
up on your feed
It's a
every
bear!
few months,
Perfect. Keep it
usually
steady.
accompanied by sad music or a caption about giving up on society. It shows a single, small penguin stopping in its tracks, looking around, and then turning its back on the ocean. While thousands of other penguins are heading toward the water to feed and live, this one decides to walk the other way. It waddles alone toward the vast, empty, frozen mountains in the distance. It is an image that breaks your heart instantly. It feels symbolic. It feels like a moment of deep, existential realization. People in the comments section talk about depression, about the desire to just walk away from everything, or about the bravery of choosing your own path. We look at that little bird, and we see ourselves. We see a rebel. We see a lonely soul. But the reality of that footage is so much more complex and, honestly, much haunting than the viral captions suggest. To understand what is really happening here, we have to strip away the social media filters and go back to the source. We have to go back to 2007, to the bottom of the world, to a documentary that changed how we look at nature. Before we dive into the icy truth of Antarctica, I want to welcome you to Kindness Valley. If you enjoy deep dives into the stories that shape our world and the emotions that connect us, please take a second right now to like this video, drop a comment, and hit that subscribe button. It really helps us bring more of these stories to light. All right, let's go back to the ice. The footage comes from a film called Encounters at the End of the World. It was directed by Werner Herzog, a legendary German filmmaker known for his hypnotic voice and his refusal to sugarcoat nature. He didn't go to Antarctica to make a fluffy movie about happy penguins like Happy Feet. He went there to explore the strange, the dangerous, and the bizarre. He was interested in the people who choose to live in the freezing cold and the animals that survive on the edge of existence. The scene in question was filmed near McMurdo Station, the largest research center on the continent. Herzog and his crew were observing a massive colony of Adelie penguins. Now, usually, nature documentaries show you the highlight reel. They show the parents feeding the chicks, the cute stumbling, the triumphant escape from a seal. But Herzog wanted to know about the dark side. In the film, Herzog is talking to a penguin expert, a marine ecologist named Dr. David Ainley. This is a man who has spent years staring at the ice, observing these birds. Herzog asks him a question that most nature filmmakers wouldn't dare ask. He asks, is there such a thing as insanity among penguins? Does a penguin ever just go crazy? The scientist doesn't laugh. He doesn't dismiss it. He answers very seriously. He explains that while they don't call it insanity in the human sense, they do see disorientation. They see behaviors that make absolutely no biological sense. And that is when the camera finds him, the penguin. In the clip, the colony is a chaotic, noisy mess of life. Birds are squawking, moving toward the sea, doing exactly what their instincts tell them to do to survive. But this one penguin stands apart. He pauses. He seems to think. And then he turns toward the interior of the continent. Now, to us, it just looks like he is walking toward some mountains. It looks scenic. But geographically, it is a death sentence. The ocean is where the food is. The ocean is life. The direction he is walking leads to nothing but 70 kilometers of solid ice and then dry valleys where nothing grows and nothing survives. The scientist explains that they have seen this before. Sometimes a penguin just gets confused. Or maybe something in its neurological wiring misfires. Instead of following the magnetic pull of the ocean or the visual cues of the colony, it locks onto a different path. The scientist notes that even if you were to catch him, bring him back to the colony, and set him facing the ocean, he would turn right back around and march toward the mountains again. This isn't a momentary mistake. It is a compulsion. It is a drive so strong that the animal will walk until its energy runs out and it collapses. This is where the human reaction gets interesting. When this clip went viral years later, the internet dubbed him the nihilist penguin, Or the existential penguin. We projected our own complex human emotions onto a bird. We thought, maybe he is tired of the noise. Maybe he is tired of being just another face in the crowd. Maybe he wants to see what is on the other side of the mountains. We romanticize it because in our human lives, walking away from society is a philosophical choice. It is an act of rebellion. But in the brutal reality of Antarctica, nature doesn't deal in philosophy. It deals in survival and errors. Werner Herzog included this scene specifically to challenge the Disney-fied version of nature we are used to. He famously said in the film that he sees the universe not as harmonious, but as chaotic, murderous, and indifferent. He wanted to show that nature makes mistakes. Systems fail, wiring gets crossed. The penguin isn't making a statement about society. The penguin is broken. And that is actually more tragic than the romantic version. If the penguin was choosing to leave, that would be agency. That would be freedom. But the fact that he is driven by a biological error means he is a prisoner of a malfunction. He is marching toward his own end, not because he wants to die, but because his internal compass is leading him the wrong way. There is another layer to this story that often gets asked in the comments. Why didn't the camera crew save him?
Got it. Zooming in.
Why did they just stand there and film him walking to his death? And this is a huge ethical debate in wildlife filmmaking. The general rule, especially in places like Antarctica, which is a protected scientific zone, is strictly non-interference. You are there to observe, not to interact. If you save one penguin, are you disrupting the food chain? If you bring him back and he is sick, will he infect the colony? And as Dr. Ainley pointed out, saving him wouldn't work. His brain was set on that path. You would have to lock him in a cage to stop him, and that isn't freedom either. So the crew had to do the hardest thing possible. They had to watch. They had to witness a tragedy unfold in slow motion and do nothing but record it. This silence, this helplessness, is what makes the footage so powerful. The camera zooms in as the tiny black dot moves further and further away from the safety of the group. And the mountains loom over him, massive and uncaring. It is a visual representation of how small life is compared to the planet. It reminds us that nature isn't always perfect. We like to think of animals as having perfect instincts, always knowing what to do. But they are biological machines, just like us.
10 o'clock.
And sometimes the machine glitches.
It's a bear!
However, the reason this video went viral isn't because of the science. It is because of the feeling. Even if we know the facts, even if we know it's a neurological issue, we can't help but feel a pang of empathy. Why? Because everyone, at some point in their life, has felt like that penguin. Everyone has felt like they are marching in the wrong direction. Everyone has felt disconnected from the crowd, looking at the people around them and thinking, I don't belong here. I need to go somewhere else. That we use the penguin as a metaphor for our own struggles with mental health, with isolation, and with the pressure to conform. It is fascinating how the internet repurposed this 2007 documentary clip. In the original film, the music is haunting, choral, almost religious. It frames the penguin's journey as a solemn, mysterious event. On TikTok and Instagram, people put sad piano music or lo-fi beats over it. They turn it into a mood. But by doing that, we strip the animal of its dignity in a way. We make it about us. We forget that this was a real living creature that likely died alone on the ice. Recognizing the reality of its situation, the cold, hard biological failure, is a form of respect. It respects the harshness of the environment. Antarctica is a place of extremes. It is the windiest, coldest, driest place on Earth. For an Adelie penguin, life is already a constant battle against the cold and predators like leopard seals. The colony is their lifeline. The warmth of the group is their survival. To walk away from that is the ultimate anomaly. When Herzog captured this, he captured a glitch in the matrix of evolution. It is rare, but it happens. And it serves as a reminder that life is fragile, not just physically, but mentally. The instincts that keep us alive are delicate. So, when you see that video again, scrolling through your phone late at night, you don't have to stop feeling sad for the penguin. It is a sad story, but try to remember the context. Remember that this isn't a cartoon character making a stand. It is a glimpse into the raw, unfiltered reality of the wild. It is a reminder that nature is beautiful, yes, but it is also full of flaws and tragedies that have no rhyme or reason. The penguin didn't walk away to find himself. He walked away because he was lost in a way that he couldn't understand. There is a profound lesson here about interpretation. We humans are storytellers. We need things to make sense. We need a beginning, a middle, and an end with a moral. A penguin dying of disorientation is just sad and meaningless. But a penguin choosing freedom? That is a story. That is why the viral version persists. We prefer the story over the truth because the truth is uncomfortable. The truth is that sometimes things just go wrong. Sometimes you walk toward the mountains because your brain tells you the ocean is that way, even when it's not. The legacy of this footage from 2007 continues today. It brings attention to Antarctica and the work of scientists like those at McMurdo Station. It brings attention to the brilliant, weird mind of Werner Herzog. And, in a strange way, it brings people together. The comment sections are full of people comforting each other, sharing their own feelings of being the lonely penguin. If a confused bird on a sheet of ice can make thousands of people feel a little less alone in their own struggles, then maybe his tragic journey wasn't entirely for nothing. He became a symbol, even if he never meant to be one. In the end, that little penguin walking toward the mountains is one of the most memorable images in documentary history. It challenges us to look at nature without the rose-colored glasses. It forces us to confront the silence of the world. It is not about good or evil, or bravery or cowardice. It is simply about being. Being small, being confused, and keeping moving, even if the direction is wrong. Thank you so much for reading this story with us here on Kindness Valley. It's stories like these that remind us to look a little deeper at what we see online. If this story touched you, or if you learned something new about that viral clip, please subscribe to the channel. We would love to have you in our community. Don't forget to like, share this video with someone who needs to hear the real story, and leave a comment below. Did you think the penguin was choosing freedom, or did you know the truth? Let us know. Until next time, stay curious and stay kind.